In a so-called free state, officials and stakeholders concoct solutions to problems often created by other bureaucrats and with little regard for infringements on the people. These stories are born at the apex of freedom and entrepreneurship. We foolishly advocate for the taxpayer. Brian's Beat presents Freedom Fools.
Hour 3 of Freedom Fools. So what about banning soda, junk food, that kind of stuff off of the food stamp program? Get into that during hour number 3 of Freedom Fools on WBSM. The Brian's Beat quote of the day from Bob Berg. Your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. What a nice little segue into this story. A half dozen more states plan to ban soda, junk food purchases with food stamps. If you've been following me for any period of time, like it, don't like it, you know I'm not a fan of the food stamp program. And to piggyback off of what Reverend Lima was talking about 15, 20 minutes ago, the amount of programs that have been added to your tax bill payment, local, state, and federal, is beyond the pale. Now, I guess the first question should be, why on earth can you use your, I guess it's now a SNAP card, to buy pretzels, Cheetos? I guess I would be okay with the Aquafina. That's water. But orange soda, Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, I would say right from the get-go, none of those should have been allowed. And so now that the Trump administration is trying to make a push to have it happen, I'm not sitting here saying no. I'm not sitting here saying no. And it certainly would save we the people some money. However, I don't know how much money, number one. And number two, if this is supposed to be some kind of trade-off for the Golden Dome, well, let them eat junk. It never should have. It never should have been a part of any food program. But the government allowed it. Governments allowed it. And now we got to take it away. We can't allow this to happen. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a gaping hole that needs to be stitched. There's a huge problem. And folks going out and buying soda or Ruffles potato chips, that's just a 1, a 2, maybe a 10% part of the problem. With a program like Food Stamp, with another program like WIC, what happens is in order for you, the end user, to get a part of that program, you have to go through the hoops and hurdles. You have to go to, in our state, Department of Transitional Assistance. You sit down, you wait to see if you qualify or don't qualify. There's a person that does your intake. There's a person who monitors the person doing the intake, and 2 or 3 other people to go stamp yes, stamp no. Eventually, you might qualify. So now that you qualify, the process for you to get the card and then to have money transferred onto that card, while there is a lot of artificial intelligence involved in that system, there are still people doing what they call checks and balances. There is the bookkeeper, and the bookkeeper has to have some type of monitor, usually an assistant manager. And the assistant manager has to have some type of supervisor. And the supervisor has a manager who's watching over not only those people, but 3 or 4 other groups of people in the same office. So, for the folks that do qualify for food stamps, for the people that do qualify for food stamps, there are people that do not qualify for food stamps that are getting paid by the same Department of Agricultural Department, or maybe it's Health and Human Services, to help facilitate all of this. They're getting paid a lot more money than what's going out in the benefits. And so we've got a big, like I said, we've got a Band-Aid trying to fix a gaping hole here. So I think this is one step in the correct direction, and I don't foresee the government turning around, at the federal government turning around and say, hey, we're going to end the SNAP program. That's it. It's over. I don't see that happening. This administration would lose so many votes. So I don't see that happening. I do see some people being forced to work if you're under a particular age. And, maybe it's easy for me because I would be over that age threshold. But if you're able-bodied, the government is going to try to find some kind of work for you so you can collect the benefit. My question to you would be, if the federal government, in its wisdom, decides to put you on some type of work-receive SNAP program, are they going to pay the federal minimum wage, which is $8 and change? Are they going to pay your state's minimum wage? Are they going to pay a restaurateur's minimum wage? What are they going to do about that? And how are they, the federal government, going to make sure, how are they going to monitor to make sure all these people are working? Are they going to set up the jobs? So where's the bottom line is, where's the cost savings going to come from? $36 trillion in debt. $36 trillion. A lot of talk about Doge and all the money Doge is saving us by doging. I believe at the end of the year, at the end of 2 years, or going toward the 2026 election, when all is said and done, there's not going to be much savings. We might be underway for the Golden Dome, but it seems, to me anyway, what savings the Trump administration is trying to gain by cutting staff, by cutting programs, it is turning around and taking a goodly proportion of that money to spend it on programs we don't have, like a Golden Dome, like making sure police officers have protection in case they happen to beat somebody up and all of a sudden they're being hit with a lawsuit. So, good idea? Yes. I think the food stamp program was a bad idea. I think there was, I don't know if it was this week or last week when I brought up on the program that the grandfather or grandmother of the food stamp program actually came out on that particular date in, I don't know, 1933 or 1934. And back in those days, if you were a person of color, if you were from the Asian community, you didn't qualify. That has changed. But, you know, if you've got your agricultural secretary, Brooke Rollins is her name, if you have her coming out and, you know, basically speaking at a MAGA event, but then calling it MAHA for Make America Healthy Again, what is this really doing? Okay, I mean, you're preaching to the choir. All right, you're preaching to the choir. And what we're going to do is we're going to ban soda and junk food purchases with food stamps. Yeah, of course you got to do it. Never should have happened. Get those people out there and make them work. I sit here and I tell you I would not have had a food stamp program. But this is nothing more than red meat for the lions. All right, let's hear from you. 508-996-0500. Thank you. Hello.
How goes it?
Winging, wanging.
Hey, government giveth. Government can take it away and
all the time.
Make their own rules.
Yes, they can.
You know, so that's all that's happened. You know that those Doge cuts, none of those Doge cuts were codified into law. So basically what that says, it's a big all scam. And the next president, he'll form his undoge to put everything right back in. And through smoke and mirrors, they keep us yelling at each other. It's epic what's occurring right now.
You know, I look at it this way. First of all, you're absolutely correct. But I'm going to amend your point. There will be many things restored or some things restored, but not everything will be restored.
Yeah, because both sides are playing it, and it just...
You know, here's a classic example.
Huger and huger.
Here's a classic example. President Trump came in. He was going to seal the border, and I think we can all agree that he's done an excellent job of sealing the border right now with troops down there at the southern border. However,
that's Congress's job. That's not the executive branch's job. It is
Congress's job. It's also Congress's job to come up with some type of legislation on how to handle the migrant situation. Have they done anything of the sort?
They failing on purpose, man. So you can point to the big guy.
Have they done anything? Have they done anything about the Department of Education?
No, that was created through Congress, so it has to be abolished through Congress. Right?
And they just passed a big, beautiful bill in the House of Representatives. Did the president have anything in his big, beautiful bill about demolishing the Department of Education?
Hold on, let me get my microscope. You know that it forbids the states from interfering, passing any laws about artificial intelligence for 10 years, taking away states' rights, the big, beautiful bill. We're being scammed. Hey, man, did you hear the Mossad agent on 60 Minutes?
No.
It was Leslie Stahl. Is one of those exploding pages. Dude, it was such a fascinating interview where he said this. We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors, and the world is our stage. It just convinces me more and more why they would allow that information on 60 Minutes. It just convinces me more and more that there are so many false flags that are being sold to us, and they're just theatrics, but we're believing them to be real. And that's how we're going to change this country.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, it's right there in front of our face. Every time you hear about another Gaza disaster and why it's happening. Did you hear what happened last week? Ministers of the European Union were on a tour in Gaza. No, not Gaza, in the West Bank.
The West Bank, yep.
And they ended up getting fired upon. And not even a real apology. Not by settlers. They were. Oh, excuse me. I thought it was the IDF. I thought it was the IDF that fired at them.
It probably was, and combined with the settlers, because they didn't give them weapons to push out the native people that live there. And, Rhodesia, if you really study Rhodesia, a caller spoke about Rhodesia. If you really study Rhodesia, it was a colony named after Cecil Rhodes, who basically worked for the Rothschilds to consolidate all the diamond mines around the world, and they succeeded. If you truly study that history, you understand why Africa has been so devastated through massive colonialism and people getting angry with the colonizers. And
it's interesting. Cecil Rhodes is also the person behind the Rhodes Scholarship.
My wonderful ex-governor got a Rhodes Scholarship.
And, he was a part of the apartheid movement.
Yep.
So
my great governor, Gina Raimondo, she's a Rhodes Scholar.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of her.
I don't know. So if you're a Rhodes Scholar, I don't know that they're trying to breed upon you superiorism or supremacism, or
I think
what would be the other one?
For future positions in the world, Brian. That's what I think.
Well, I think they do.
Selected, and they're going to be placed in important positions all throughout the world. So she's on her way up, my Gina.
Oh, where do you think she's going next? Vice president?
She'll go somewhere. She'll end up somewhere.
Yeah, we'll see. Hey, thanks for the call.
All right, man.
I do appreciate it. 508-996-0500. Food stamps. The brainchild of FDR. And was there a time when people really did need food? Yes, there was. But it got to the point where beef and dairy ended up being subsidized. Parity. When I first heard that word, I had no idea what parity was, dealing with milk prices. And I was up in Vermont at that time, and there were a lot of dairy farmers up in Vermont. And, they wanted that parity price. And I'm trying to think, well, why would you want the government to help set a price? Because the government doesn't let us sell over a particular price. And why? And, they didn't know. It's what they were brought up knowing and doing. Why does the federal government have to have a price on beef? And they do the same thing with wheat and corn and barley and some of these, and you wonder, where are your tax dollars going? Instead of letting farmers farm, let them do what they know how to do. And then, for the public, if you're using GMO, let it be boldly placed on the label. Or if it's non-GMO, let the non-GMO people put it on the label. There should be transparency. But let us know what you're putting in the food, and let Farmer A put what she or he wants in said food, hopefully not killing anybody. And Farmer B does the same thing. So you and I have choice. It might mean that Farmer A or Farmer B loses out, but it keeps the subsidies out of the game. You know, the government tries to build this artificial level playing field. And the problem is, in order for others to rise up, you've got to tamp down those at the top. That's what happened to Standard Oil, because they were doing a monopoly. That's what happened to AT&T, because they were deemed a monopoly, and the government stepped in instead of opening up the door. Here's a classic example of monopolies, both in the same transportation realm. Amtrak has a monopoly nationwide. The MBTA has a monopoly statewide. So I see some states here on the list: West Virginia, Nebraska, Texas, have all requested waivers to get junk food from food stamp programs. Let's see. Nebraska's waiver, they are the first state nationwide to ban recipients of federal food stamps from using any of the food stamp money to buy junk food, soda, and other high sugar items. I wonder, high sugar items. Does that mean like Frosted Flakes? I mean, that's cereal, but that has definitely got a lot of sugar. What about Fruit Loops? See, I suppose with the technology that we have today, the scanners can pick up on, well, this has got too much sugar in it. Even though it's a cereal, we're not going to count it. Or if it's shredded wheat, which I don't believe has, well, certainly if it has sugar, it doesn't have very much sugar in it. You scan shredded wheat and, okay, this passes. Now you've got government telling you what you can and cannot eat. It's our money. But I suppose they can say, well, no, you can't purchase it. This is why you don't have a food stamp program. Because, I don't know, it could be something religious to you that you have a lot of sugar or drink a lot of soda. I don't know too many religions that go down that particular road, and I don't want to be a part of any of them that do. I'm just saying this is why I'm not going to doubt. I wasn't alive in the 1930s, so I'm not going to doubt that food stamps may have been a necessary thing back in those days, or food lines, however way they did it. But I am saying we already know that there's abuse in the program. And when I say fraud, I'm not necessarily talking about the folks operating the program as much as I'm talking about the people that are fraudulent to get on the program. And obviously, there's mismanagement. The whole thing needs to be stopped. You got to do it properly, but it needs, let's cut out the program, give it a couple of months, and then try to bring it back, whatever would be deemed properly. 508-996-0500 if you want to talk about that. Look, last Sunday, the Libertarian Association of Massachusetts met in Framingham, and I was more than happy to go up to Framingham for the meeting. my hometown. I looked around. I could hardly recognize anything except for Ken's Steakhouse, which is where we had the convention. And if there's anything that looks similar to when I grew up, it is Ken's Steakhouse. Prices have gone up, but everything looks the same. Everything smells the same. It really, really smells great in there. All right. So on the agenda for the Libertarian Party was, what do we do about this Libertarian Association of Massachusetts? There are actually two proposals to get rid of Libertarian, both of which I was staunchly against. I've been a Libertarian since the late 1980s. I was a Libertarian in California before I came back to Massachusetts. I've been in this party in the state since 1991. I've been registered since 1990. In saying all of that, I did not want to see the name end. But the writing was on the wall. And I could tell you two reasons why the writing was on the wall. When I got there, the speeches were going on. And when I got there, there was a grand total of 11 people. 11 people. When I was a speaker moons ago at the Libertarian Convention, we had 200 to 300 people. Give you an idea. So the turnout was abysmal. The last time I went to the convention 2 years ago, I did not go last year. We had well over 25 people there. So as you can see, the numbers have really diminished. I believe part of the reason was that there were two proposals to end the Libertarian name, and people just didn't want to show up. I wanted to go because if the name was going to end, I wanted to at least give one final speech to try to save it. Anyway, so prior to me really getting up and saying my 2 cents, and let me go back a little. On occasion, you've heard me on whether it was Freedom Fools or on Brian's Beat say that the Libertarian Party was thinking about changing its name to Liberal Alliance of Massachusetts. They wanted to keep the LAMA. Not one person that called me here at the station, there were two people outside of the station that mentioned to me that they were okay with the name Liberal. It wasn't like they were going to jump out of their skins for a liberal party here in the Commonwealth. The other name was Liberty Advocates of Massachusetts, also keeping the LAMA. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, if it's liberal, I'm gone. I'm gone for good. And somebody asked me on the board about my feelings toward liberal, and I explained everything like I explained it to you, but I was pretty vocal, and people, few as they were, they understood. And so I made a motion to take the name Liberty Advocates and place it on the Constitution name. And then, of course, we would change everything as needed that might say, the old one, Libertarian, or the new one, Liberal, and just make it Liberty. Somebody said, can we just add the Alliance? So we are now known as the Liberty Alliance of Massachusetts, still keeping that LAMA. And that's good. That's fine. People know us as Llama. I bring this to your attention because if I were to say to you, I'm a part of the Liberal Alliance of Massachusetts, you're going to question me, liberal? Liberal? You're a liberal? And that's pretty much the feeling of not only you listening, but many people walking around here in the Commonwealth. Now, there is a term, classical liberalism, which is how this country was founded. Liberal doctrine, less government, small government, hardly any government. And you see how we've changed from that. So, if I tell you I'm a part of the Liberty Alliance of Massachusetts, you know what liberty stands for. There's no real question. You'd have to be a 2-year-old or have a mind of a 3-year-old not to know what liberty means. We fight for liberty. We fight for freedom. Those two terms are interchangeable. And so the Liberty Alliance of Massachusetts is jumping on the bandwagon, dealing with these new smart meters that are reportedly going to be attached to your home. And you're going to pay for it to be attached to your home to the tune of $1.75 a month up to, or just a little bit less than $5 a month. In fact, it's my understanding some people are already started to see that as a part of their bill. Maybe not people around here, but some people out in the western part of the state. These smart meters are going to be attached to your home unless you opt out. You have to opt out. I had Elijah D'Souza on the program, Citizens Against Eversource, the other day, and Eversource is doing this. But once Eversource starts, Unitel, National Grid, they're going to follow suit. So we talked to Reverend Lima about getting together to try to do something to stem the violence in the city of New Bedford. And I think that's a great idea. We're also going to need you to come together. Doesn't matter if you're a Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, free market, whatever. Coming together to fight maybe on the local level, certainly on the statewide level. Now, there is a bill in the House of Representatives, I believe it is HD 4707. HD 4707. You can read all about it. It's a big, beautiful House bill dealing with energy. The Department of Public Utilities is allowing this to happen. After all of the belly aching that we did in the winter months about high gas bills and high electric bills, and the DPU and the governor and the attorney general, they all came out, oh, the bill's going to come down. They're going to come down. We got a new plan working. Well, here's government's plan working for us. Yeah, bull. If you decide to opt out on the meter, get ready for this. You're going to pay $34 a month. That's what Eversource is asking, $34 a month. Talk about highway robbery. And the $34 is to have somebody come out and read your meter. Let me ask you something. Whether you live in a house live in an apartment, own tenements, whatever the case may be. When was the last time somebody came to your home to read your meter? And what was the price for them to come out and read that meter? According to Elijah D'Souza, Eversource does indeed charge to have somebody come out. You try finding it on your bill. But now they're going to charge $34. I would say this. If you are charging us $10, $15 right now to have it, and we see it in our bill, keep the price the same. What Liberty Alliance folk have been talking about is working locally with our select boards, with our city councils, to do not in my backyard type of policies, ordinances. So if Eversource is thinking they want to do it, but let's say we'll use Fairhaven. I haven't talked about Fairhaven today. Residents in the town of Fairhaven, they don't want it. And the select board says no. Then Eversource would be forbidden from installing those smart meters. Or, more to the point, forbidden to charge you $34 so you can opt out. See, I think that's, choice is what it's all about. I'm sure there are people who could care less and would gladly have the smart meter placed in their home. And I could say they're 1-800, you're the dummy, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, look, there are people out there that are okay with this, and that's fine. In fact, I would be okay if the town of Fairhaven during, they've already had elections, but during the next election cycle, puts on the ballot to, no more charges to get these smart meters taken off if they've already been placed on there. That might be a little bit more difficult. The idea is to nip it in the bud and allow you to opt out without having to pay the $34 per month. That would be goal number one. On the state level, pretty much the same thing. And it's going to be difficult because in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we have the Secretary of Energy and Livable Communities, who is backing what Eversource is going to do to the hilt. So there are going to be some problems. It might come down to a ballot question because, quite frankly, I really don't trust Bacon Hill lawmakers to do what would be the right thing and give us choice here. Because to them, if they have to pay $34 a month, still coming out of your pocket because you put the money into their pocket. So they're not going to quiver over $34. But there are going to be a lot of people that will, and understandably so. So that's the local fight. I did reach out to Councilor Abreu the other day and talk to him. I have no idea what he is going to do with this. I brought it to his attention. He did say it merit looking into. What does that mean to the electric ratepayers in the city of New Bedford? I don't have a positive answer for you or a negative one. I don't have an answer for you. But the one thing that I have found with Ian Abreu is he is receptive to listening. He is running for re-election. And I do believe as people start seeing these meters getting installed onto their homes, And hopefully before that happens, they start reading up on what these smart meters can do. If you don't know, every 7 seconds, that meter sends a signal to the central command so they know how much electricity you're using at that 7-second interval, and then the next 7 seconds, and the next 7 seconds after that. So they don't need to send the person out to your house because they've got real-time readings. The other thing that this does, and this is good, if there is a power outage at your place, it alerts the system that your power is down, and they can send a technician out to try to remedy the problem. That's good. Not having somebody come, taking a job away from real meter readers, that's not good. And the obnoxious fees that they're going to charge to roll this system out is undeniably a big farce. It shouldn't happen, and I'm going to do my best. I know folks within the Liberty Alliance, they're going to do their best. But it's going to take more than 5, 6, 10, 20 people. It's going to take more than all the people that are a part of Citizens Against Eversource. It's going to take you. And it will also take you and you to talk to your select board member, to talk to your ward counselor, to talk to your at-large counselor, to let them know what's going on because, hey, they might not know. Counselors, select board members, they have jobs. They may not know what's tucked into HD 4707. That's the bill that is pretty much allowing this to happen. 508-996-0500. If indeed we allow Eversource to get away with this, and I say get away, it's not like they're doing anything illegal. They will be able to monitor your house. If something happens to their system, somebody taps into their system, there's a cyber crime, then somebody's going to have access to whatever you have online at your house. So there's another whammy to this particular system. And it opens up the door if you have a smart meter. The next thing that you're going to need to accompany that smart meter is going to be a smart thermostat. Well, it is Memorial Day weekend. We are experiencing a few showers at this particular time. But I believe tomorrow and Monday, I think Monday is supposed to be the best day of the weekend. So get outside and enjoy. And remember, there are lots of people that served this country, and they gave the ultimate sacrifice fighting for at least what they believed was for our freedoms. So remember that as you go out celebrating this weekend. My thanks to Mark Skousen, who joined us from Chapman University during our first hour, Reverend Lima last hour, and of course your calls. I'm Brian. Time for me to pack up my bags and get out of here. Adios.
Traveling around from town to town, sometimes I think I'll settle down, but I know I'd hunger to be free. Roving's the only life for me.